So this is where we're picking up. I've added a few more elements here. I'll just zoom out a little bit. You can see I've added a few more horizontals, and that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to come back to comp 1. I'm just going to name this title, and I'm going to name comp 1 final comp. And that's what we're going to do. Now I'm going to bring the title in, and that's what it looks like, and that's the way we do want it to look like. Now the first thing I want to do is I just want to make these 3D, and what I also want to do is create a camera. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch this to half res because there's such a large comp inside here, with a large texture as well. It's going to be quite heavy to render, especially considering I'm working on a laptop. So with the title selected, no, I tell you what, we'll bring in the camera first. I'm going to bring in a null object and layer new camera. Leave it at 35mm, that's fine. Change that to cam control. Make it 3D, and then parent the camera to the null object. Okay. So before we start bothering with the 3D, we're going to make this look a little bit more like that. And it's a few easy steps. I'm going to go Effect, Generate, Fill, and then we're going to just fill it as a black. Okay. And then I'm going to press F4 on the keyboard and bring up the transfer modes and set it to overlay. Okay, now with this fill selected, just bring this down a touch, and we can play around with this a little bit later on. But you know, it's starting to look like the end result. Now I brought in the cam control basically because I want the camera to always be focused on this point. So now, just by using the controls here, say I want to just rotate it slightly this way, which is what I do want to do, but I also want to say bring it over a little, maybe even zoom in. So we're starting to get closer to the look and feel of the last one. So I'm just gonna tilt it along the X there, and you know, you got plenty. Oops, a daisy. And you'll have a lot more time to play with this than I have, so I'll just get it to a rough position that I quite like, which is, you know, roughly there, and that's the way I like it. Now obviously we've got a huge piece of black over in this corner, and we're going to fix that by clicking on paper, go to effects, and I'm going to type in motion tile, and I'm going to drag and drop that on to here. Now the output width, all I have to do is just drag this out, and the output height to fill the, whoops, I'm going to save it there just in case it crashes. So I'm going to click save as, save it, and we're going to bring out the output height. Bring it down to maybe a quarter res for now. And you know, that's fine. I was quite scared that it was going to crash then because I'm working on a laptop, but we'll forget about that. But what I am going to do, I don't like this ugly crease up here, so I'm just going to move the camera to, so I'll go in P-Tone. I'm just going to move the actual layer upwards a little bit. And I'll leave it there for now, just for the, you know, sake of speed. You could play about with it a little bit more. But there we are. So I'm going to bring this back up to half res, and it looks a lot nicer. So in this original, you see a little bit of a vignette, so that's what we're going to work on now, which is luckily quite an easy bit to work on. So I'm going to go layer, new, solid, make it a black solid. I'm going to call it vignette because it's always nice to keep it organized. Leave it at the top, and on this little arrow down here I'm going to drag down onto the ellipse tool and then double click, which will create an ellipse mask basically. And in the mask settings I'm going to change it from add to subtract, which is pretty self-explanatory, and I'm going to click MM to open up all the properties and just feather it out a bunch, at least 400 pixels, yeah. And also the expansion is going to go up a touch as well. And there's our vignette. Also I'm going to do a little bit of color correction, so I'm going to go layer, new, adjustment layer, move it under the vignette just because I don't want to mess with the vignette too much, and I'm going to bring in curves again, and once again I'm going to do a nice contrast curve, boost up some of the highlights, maybe not so dark. There we go. So now you can, you're starting to feel this is a little bit lighter, but I'm going for a different look here. Tough. Basically, the final touch to all of this is camera options, and we're going to add some depth of field. So I'm going to turn depth of field on, and nothing happens. Sorry, nothing happens as default. But I'm going to knock the aperture up, and then you're going to see some depth of field occurring. And I'm going to actually knock the blur amount up as well. Quite a high amount. And then we're going to mess with the focus distance. We're going to bring that closer to the camera. And we are almost finished. So I'm going to turn the blur level down. No, sorry, leave the blur level where it is and turn the aperture down a little bit. And there you go, we've recreated it almost exactly the same. Obviously we can play with the camera angles, but I gave you the basics there to work with, and then we've created a vignette. You've been working with depth of field, and it looks pretty good. I mean, if we want to just lighten this up, I can come into here and just boost this up and make it look a touch more. And if you look, this is a little warmer, so I can go into green, pull out some greens, and I can also go into blue and pull out the blue, and there we go, we're automatically warming it up. But if I just pull out the reds little by little, it's going to start looking a lot more like our original piece. So I've been Daniel Phillips. Hope you learned a little bit from this tutorial. Thanks very much, and if I've got time I'm going to come back and maybe animate the camera and these solids to give it a bit of life. Thanks very much. Come back for some more training. My name's Daniel. Thanks very much. Bye bye.